Welcome to my YouTube automotive channel. In today's video I have a 2016 Jeep Compass and I will be talking about main problems and issues of these vehicles from my own experience. So I'm in a car sales. I've sold probably like 50 of those in the last couple of years, and I'll be talking about all the major issues I've encountered. And yeah, this video can also serve as a buyer guide so you know what to check if you're buying one of these. This video will apply to first generation of compasses made from 2007 all the way up to 2016. If this video was helpful, please consider supporting the channel by liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, or becoming a channel member. Most of these vehicles will come powered by a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine and a CVT transmission. Now some of them will be 2.0 liter engine, but like I said, like 95% of them will be 2.4, so this video also refers to that engine. Now long term, these engines are quite good. If you maintain this vehicle, do the oil changes on time, you shouldn't have any major issues. In my opinion, 2.4 liter lacks a bit of power because this is quite a heavy car, and it really lacks power sometimes, but other than that, if you do lots of city driving and things like that, it should be fine for you. Now, one of the major issues I always experience with this vehicle is actually, quite often I buy these vehicles from car auctions with a declaration doesn't start, engine seized, or things like that, but usually that's not the case. So what usually happens, there is the VCM which fails. That's the wireless control module, and once this thing fails, you will have these symptoms, and then most of mechanical shops will misdiagnose what's going on. And the fix for that is pretty much to replace the VCM. So there is no start, no crank, no start. That's what happens, right? You turn the key in the ignition lock and nothing happens, right? Car doesn't even try to start. But that's the module problem, and that's not too expensive fix. Sometimes you will have to go to a Jeep dealership, but it's not so major that the engine will have to be replaced or things like that, which is quite often misdiagnosed. And now the other thing that can cause those same symptoms is actually relay box failure. Now there is a relay box inside the driver's wheel well, right? So there's like a 1 hour labor to get to it, and then it's like a $15 part. So what happens, that relay panel collects moisture over time, and that causes ASD relay to corrode, and then you have issues. And again, if your mechanic is not experienced, he will have hard time diagnosing it. But that's a very common issue with these vehicles. Even when I sell these vehicles, sometimes in a perfect condition, I give like, I don't know, 1 year warranty or something. People come back after 6 months, car is not starting. So I know right away it's gonna be one of those two things. So that relay should be located just somewhere here behind this wheel well, right? So you have to remove the tire, the inner fender actually, and you should be able to reach it and replace it. Like I said, it's a cheap part, and that's something that always happens with these vehicles, but it is fixable and it's not too expensive usually. Okay, next thing I will mention, body wise, these vehicles don't really rust too bad. Like rocker panels are usually good, undercarriage is usually good, but I often notice rust around rear wheel wells, so just above the rear wheels on both sides. Right now, this vehicle right now that I have, it's not rusted out, but quite often I see either surface rust, so beginning to rust, or completely rusted wheel wells in the back. So if that happens, it will have to be cut out and welded, depending how deep the rust is, right? So if you're on the market to buy one of these vehicles, you always want to check the wheel wells, but that's quite easy to spot, right? And always when buying a vehicle, just lie under the vehicle from each side and check the rocker panels to make sure there is no rust or holes. Next thing I will mention, couple of common repairs that I always see with these vehicles, which is nothing too bad. So throttle body can fail, and then you have the option to either clean it up or replace it. It's always a better option to replace it, in my opinion, because what can happen with a bad throttle body, these vehicles will often get into the limp mode, and you don't want that happening to you somewhere on a highway, or even if you drive on a busy street, right? Because you won't be able to drive past like 20-30 miles per hour, and that's a problem, right? So throttle body is a common issue. And then also I will mention, almost always for some reason I have to do the wheel bearings on these vehicles. So whenever I buy this vehicle, like 5 out of 6 will have wheel bearing noise. Again, nothing too major to replace. It's gonna cost like between $300 and $500, and that will cause also, if you have a faulty wheel bearing, the wheel bearing has the ABS sensor on it, and that will cause your ABS or traction light to go on, so you don't have the ABS brakes anymore. Your brake may fall in too deep and things like that, right? So, but like I said, and also while you drive, you will hear a loud humming noise, especially when you turn the steering wheel, but that's the wheel bearings. Also, these vehicles, the older models, 2007 to 2011 or 12, I believe, they used to have problems with the crankshaft and camshaft position sensors. Now the sensors themselves were not the problem, but only the electrical connections on the sensors, and there is actually the TSB and even the recall, I believe, for that. So that will be fixed by the dealership if that happens to your Compass. Okay, now I'm on the roof, and the issue here is water leaks. So quite often these seals, if you have a sunroof equipped, these seals around the sunroof will start to leak quite often. So the seal would have to be replaced, and the same goes actually with the seals around these guides, right? So all these guides here, these seals around them, they often leak, and then the water gets into the cabin, and that happened quite a bit. So I live in the area where there isn't too much rain, and then I sell the vehicle, and in 2 months there is the first rain and somebody comes, yeah, water is leaking into my vehicle. But yeah, I know what has to be done, so we always check the sunroof and we check those seals, right? Yeah, other than that, these are pretty good vehicles. Like I said, it's nothing major. Most of other vehicles will have more problems. The engine's transmissions will be much worse. I like buying and selling these vehicles because people love them and they sell good, and they're quite good in the winter, right? And the last thing I will mention are the radios in these vehicles. Now, for some reason, quite often I have to replace the radios in these vehicles, right? They just stop working. Like for example, this specific Jeep, this radio doesn't work at all. It is faulty, and most likely first thing I will do, I will pull it out, I will check connections behind it and things like that. I will check the wiring at the driver door jamb, passenger door jamb, but from experience I know these radios just quite often fail for some reason and have to be replaced. I replaced probably like 20-30 of those in the last 5 years in bunch of different vehicles like Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler. It's all pretty much the same thing. And these radios are bad. They fail, something inside just fails, and then there is the option to take it somewhere, to take it apart and fix it, or just replace the radio. And usually you can get this radio quite cheap from car salvage for maybe like $100, and then just it's easier to replace it. But yeah, that's what I have to say. Okay, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful and educational. If it was, please like it and consider subscribing to my YouTube automotive channel. On my channel there is lots of how-to videos, do-it-yourself videos, car reviews, product reviews and other similar automotive topics.